I'd like to call the city council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dolick.
Here.
Alderman Dash.
Here.
Alderman Cameron.
Here.
Alderman Anderson.
Here.
Here. Would you call the, okay, I didn't hear.
I heard she's not in.
No, I mean, Rich.
I only called a,
We don't have to call them.
yeah, no.
All right.
No, we don't have to call them.
Will the clerk read the preamble?
The clerk, okay. In accordance with the applicable statutes of the state of Illinois and the ordinance of the city of Prospect Heights, notice is hereby given that the city council meeting of the mayor and city council of the city of Prospect Heights is being held on Monday, June 12, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in person in the city council chambers, Prospect Heights City Hall, 8 North Elmhurst Road, Prospect Heights, Illinois. Mayor Patrick Ludvigson presiding. This meeting will be broadcast live on cable channels Comcast and Astound RCN Channel 17 and AT&T U-verse Channel 99. It will also be recorded and televised on Comcast and Astound RCN Channel 17 and AT&T U-verse Channel 99. Attendees who wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be provided an opportunity during the meeting. There's a 5-minute time limit for speakers.
Thank you. Will everybody please rise for the pledge of allegiance? Item 4, presentations. We have a presentation by the Chief of Police regarding police officer lateral transfers and compensation.
We'll go to the podium. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city staff, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the lateral compensation. But first, let me tell you how we got here. Take me, for instance, back in '99 when I applied for the position of patrol officer, I was one of 1,500 applicants looking for 2 positions. Even before that, when I was at Chicago Housing Authority in '94, I was one of 2,500 applicants, although there were 30 spots available. And this is all within the last 5 years, how the shift has kind of changed. Chicago, which used to get 10,000 applicants, I think their last test, they had under 200. So I've been doing background checks for the Prospect Heights Police Department as a detective sergeant for the last 11 years, and this is typically how it goes. This year, we extended our timeline for applications to 2 months. And in 2 months, we have 20 applicants. That's 20 people we're a good department, we pay well, good compensation, and we have 20 applicants. Of those 20, typically, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 end up not being qualified. And true to form, out of the 20, 18 are qualified to take the test, and this is what happens. 18 are qualified, 15 will show up, 3 will be no-shows, even when they pay a fee for the application. 15 will show up, probably 5 will fail the written exam, and then there'll be an oral exam. So of the 10 or so that come for the oral exam, half, if not more, will fail the oral exam. And we've lowered our standards in the oral interviews from 70% passing to 60%. We've done that in our last 2 tests. And had we not done that, we wouldn't even have, we would not have Sophia. And she's turning out to be an outstanding officer. So I'm telling you, and a lot of departments have lowered the grade because the applicants, they're not here for various reasons. One of them, which is the media portrays the police in a negative way. One bad apple spoils the whole cart, as probably we all know. So now what you're seeing is police departments and on the other side of town in Arlington Heights, they've hired more than 20 Chicago police officers as laterals. Mount Prospect, they're all hiring laterals because they're the hot commodity. Why? It's because they're trained. They like coming into the suburbs where they're not burdened as much going call to call to call to call, like in the big city of Chicago. Chicago's way understaffed, overburdened, and underappreciated. And when they come to the suburbs, it's almost like, it's like, you're treated this well? This is terrific. You have training. Chicago police, they don't train. I can tell you all the suburbs out-train Chicago 10 to 1. So when they come here and they see what's happening, what do? They get on the phone and they tell all their friends, guys, you won't believe what they do here, how they treat us here. And the pay is pretty decent. So here we are today. We have had an ad up for laterals. We had one up last year. We got a couple applications. And so the process is this. They meet myself and the deputy chief and we screen them. If we think they're good enough for Prospect Heights, then they go on to the Fire and Police Commission. And then they score them. Laterals do not take the written test. So we will have two tests. We will have two lists, a lateral list and a first-time police officer list. Our test is coming up this Saturday. So right now we have no list. The previous list, we went through it. There's nobody left. So we're down one officer, and we have an officer who's ready to medical out, which will leave us down 2 officers. So best case scenarios, if we get a police officer off of this new list, which by the time we're done with the orals, there may be 4 or 5 on that list. And I've learned as a detective, my background checks are done before the list comes out, because if not, the top candidates top on everyone's list. Nobody just applies for one department. New officers, they just want to get on somewhere. And so if we don't get them immediately, we will not get them. And we've gone through background checks before, and we're ready to give them an offer, and they say, hey, Prospect Heights, I'm sorry, Arlington picked me up, Skokie picked me up, and it's too late. So laterals are a hot commodity. And as you know, in capitalism, hot commodities are going to cost you, right? 10 years ago, nobody hired laterals. Rarely did they hire laterals because you had a pool of 1,500 candidates. Now you're getting a pool of 20 or 30. St. Charles Police Department had 28 show up for their police test. They pay extraordinarily well. They got a brand new Taj Mahal police station, and they can't get enough candidates to show up. So if you look, and I think you all saw that, how do I get this to come up here, Patrick?
You want it on the screen?
It's on the screen here.
Oh, you got it on your screens?
It's on their screens.
Okay, good. So when you see the word step, that means year 1, year 2. Step 3 is year 3. Step 4 is year 4. So some departments have 4 steps, some have 2, some have 3. And as you can see in Mount Prospect, I talked to the chief secretary there. Rather than steps, they negotiate, and she says typically if they hire a lateral, that's where they start, $97,000. Laterals, they have to have at least 3 years under the belt. I'll say 2, but so if someone came to us and they said, hey, I have 2 years experience, we would start them. My hope is we would start them not in step 2 where we're at now. So Prospect Heights is one of the few, in fact, I'm not sure anyone else but Prospect Heights has it. We don't have a sliding scale. We have a start. Step 2 meaning year 2. There's no negotiating. You can have 10 years experience, but you're going to start at year 2, which, as you can see, if you look through that list, nobody does that. We're at the rock bottom with that. So the idea here is to be competitive. Now, if I can get them in the door as far as laterals go, I brag on our police department, I brag on the city council, I brag on our government here because you are pro-police. You've all been spectacular with not just me as chief, but prior chiefs. you listen to us. The community loves us, and community outreach, the training that we have, if I can get them in, and if they're a good fit, I'll get them hired. I would really think that if hearing all that we have to offer, money talks too, and that's why we're here, right? But if we can be comparable to the other towns, we can get good laterals. And why not, in a young police department, hire somebody with the training, the maturity behind them to come in and help us mentor and train the younger officers. That's my dream. That would be a benefit for the police department, for the city. I've talked to our union reps at the police department. They are all for it. Even knowing that somebody might come in and start as a technically new officer for Prospect Heights and start making more money than some of the 2 or 3 year officers that we have. Their only concern, and it shouldn't be a concern because we would not do that, it would be violating union rules, is they start at the bottom. They start with the 2 weeks vacation, just like step one officer would, and they're in the same tier as everyone else except for the pay. I've also have listed here, this is the blue line is the place to go to place police jobs and to look for police jobs. I've check marked all those towns that I think that are comparable with our size in our area, and you can see, if you were to do a comparison, that we are pretty much at rock bottom, and which is why we're not getting any lateral applicants here. We have an available spot today, and if we did not get a lateral, Academy starts September 17th. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I have a spot at the State Police Academy for September 17th, but I don't know if I'll have a candidate. We have 18 eligible, 17, 16, 15 will show up, a third will fail, half or more will fail the oral, and then hopefully there'll be 5 or 6 left on the list, and hopefully we can grab them and get them completed quick enough to get them in the academy on September 17th. It's no one's fault. It's not like we slept, we were sleeping last year, and our list expired last month. The last guy on the list called us and said, hey, I was hired. I literally missed by about 3 weeks because we let someone go. We called the next guy on the list and he said, yeah, sorry, I was just hired. So that's just where we're at today. But I don't know of any other way to attract a lateral than to be comparable with other towns in the area. I think if you look at the readiness, if they're available, no academy, not as long as a field training as someone coming off the street, then you save a little bit of money there. The maturity and experience is worth the salary. Again, if we don't do something, it's not a scare tactic. I don't think we'll get 2 candidates off of our next list. It would be a miracle if we do, and then if we did, the first availability, if they go to the academy in September, it's 3 months, it's 17 weeks, actually in the academy, another 12 weeks field training. So now we're looking at the end of the March before these officers are on their own. In the meantime, we're short 2, and we will be burning a little bit of overtime. However, Deputy Chief and I were trying to juggle schedules. The officers have been terrific in helping us out, understanding where we're at, and they've been willing to change days off if we give them enough time. We have no part-timers now. Our candidate that we had was hired with he was going to be our next lateral, and at the last minute he got a job offer with Chase Bank, and we have no laterals to speak of, or no part-timers as of now. Our daytime part-timers out with he had surgery last month, so he'll be out another 6 to 8 weeks. So we're doing the best we can with what we have. Our officers have been terrific, cooperating with us, juggling schedules without burning through our overtime budget. But I just don't know how long we can keep up with that. And so I'm here today asking to make us more compatible with other towns as far as laterals go. And believe me, we're not gonna hire the first guy that walks in because he's a warm body. He's gotta be the right fit for Prospect Heights. But it would be nice to have a choice, you know, have 3 or 4 or 5, 6 officers to choose from. And I know for a fact that there are people who have told me, I would love to, but I'm not gonna go lose $20,000 a year. And you can't blame them. Some need that money, you know, others don't. But most experienced, mature officers already have a family and a mortgage, and you can't blame them for not making the move if it's gonna cost them $20,000, $30,000. Any questions?
Any questions? Any Alderman questions?
No questions, but Mr. Mayor, when do we take action on this? Or, I don't know if we take action. It's not on the agenda as taking action on it, but where do we go with this?
We looked into that. I checked with City Attorney O'Driscoll. It does not need a resolution for action.
Okay.
It basically needs your consent tonight. We're concerned that if timing wise, we need to move as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I hate to say that, yeah, we have an open spot right now,
Yeah.
and if we can fill it, and just so you know as well, like when we schedule somebody for a medical and for a polygraph and psychological, because there's so many departments hiring, where it used to take a week, is now taking 3 weeks. Mulaney, our part-timer, I wanted to get him in as soon as possible, and I could not get him scheduled for a medical for 3 weeks. And this is right here at Glenbrook Hospital. So even that is causing a little issue with us, just the waiting. You used to be able to schedule one a day in advance, not anymore. So the timing is of essence. The quicker, the better. That doesn't mean we're going to hire the first person to walk in, I promise you, but it will allow me to put an ad out there and to update the salary, and we are going to get a lot more applicants. I promise you that.
Right, that answers my question, but I just wanted to say, as many of you know, as the chief knows, I've, in the past 10+ years,
Oh, yeah,
I've spent
he's-
a lot of time with our department as a volunteer. I've done numerous ride-alongs, I've gotten to know the officers, and I can say firsthand, we have an excellent department and very hardworking people, and I just absolutely firmly believe that we should be competitive with surrounding suburbs, so I'd be very much in support of this.
Even 4 or 5 years ago, we used to cut off for oral interviews because police and fire commissioners, they can't work, 15, 20-hour days. We used to cut off at 20. We're only going to do oral interviews for the top 20. Now we cannot get 10 on our list for oral interviews. That's because the applicants are few. So, appreciate you listening to me.
Just a couple
Sure.
quick questions.
Sure.
When you do this, and I'm all for it, 100% for it. I don't know what the range is that you're looking for, or if we have to do anything.
I have it, I do have it listed under. So the range would be to start at the third, when it says step, it's actually year 3. So if you were an officer, you would start at year 3, minimum. So if we had a good candidate that came in there with 3 years of experience, and he met the Prospect Heights criteria to become an officer, he would start at 80, second page. Instead of 79,991, the person would start at 85,585, which would be a new officer's 3rd year step. Now, if he had more than 3 years, up to 6 years, because our officers cap out after 6 years, then we would negotiate from anywhere from 85. I would never give somebody the top salary, so I cut it off at 100,214, whereas somebody in our department who's been capped out at 6 years is 104,889, so that there's at least another step for that person to get to before they're capped out. So I I would not offer them the top salary. Pretty close, though. Or
Then they would just follow, they would move forward with those steps.
they would move forward with that sixth step, yes. After 1 year, they would move right up to that 6-year, sixth step.
And because you have such a short list of applicants to go through the academy, by doing this now, like you say, if we get a list of 5, you'd be lucky, which means those 5 are already applied other places.
Right.
They're gonna get picked up. Does it kind of like, until all this craziness goes away, does it kind of eliminate us going to the academy with people? Because if you do hire a lateral now and you don't need that second one yet, you're gonna have a list that's gonna be 6 months old. The money it takes, the cost of going out to get a new list again, because you can't get anybody to come off the old list.
Yeah.
Are we kind of making the decision to go this direction going
So
forward?
by law, you have to have a list every 2 years. And if it expires with somebody still left on there, that we don't need them, then it starts all over again. We have been exhausting our list for the last 3 times. We've gone to the bottom of every list because we don't have a 20. We have 5 or 8 or 10. So, but here's how I foresee this happening. I'm hoping to get a lateral as soon as possible, within the next month, preferably. And then this police eligibility test that we're holding on Saturday, get one person off of that for the September 17th class. So that person would go in and come out and be ready to be on his or her own in 3 months after that. Because that, we can run with one short, because we're using the detective to fill in where needed on day shift. We have 2 detectives. We should have 3, but we've not been full staff in probably 10 years or more. So I'm really anxious to get our department up to where it needs to be, so that I can utilize that 3rd detective and start. We're proactive even when we have minimum manpower, but to be more proactive would be super.
But if you run the risk of even going to the list and then none of the 5
Then we
come,
gotta do it all over
you gotta
again.
go, right, you gotta make a new list again.
Yeah,
That
so
doesn't
what-
prohibit you from hiring another lateral
No,
while you're at.
in fact, we hired Lee Redlin. The reason why we hired him on the lateral list is because at that point, we had no eligibility list. We had already expired. We've already gone through it. So today, which is why we were gonna make our part-timer a full-timer, because we don't have a list. So by law, if you have a police eligibility list on the left and a lateral list on the right, the lateral guy has to score higher than the number 1 on the police eligibility list. But if there's nobody on that list, we can hire him on the spot.
Okay.
And that's what we're hoping to do. So we can do that because there won't be a final eligibility list until August 18th, I believe. So if we get a lateral before August 18th, he just goes in front of the Police and Fire Commission. They give him a score. He has to pass 60% or higher, and then we can offer him the job.
Okay. And when you say they're gonna bring them in at that 3rd-year level, doesn't mean they're gonna be a 3rd-year person. They could
Nope,
be
they
8,
start,
10,
they have
12
no
years.
seniority. They're at the bottom of seniority. It's just
But where
salary.
they came from, they could have been in Chicago for 10 years.
Yeah.
But they're coming in at
They're
that.
coming in at bottom seniority, but with a
Okay.
higher pay than a brand-new officer who's not
Okay.
certified.
Okay. We don't need to take any action then, do we need to?
Just consent.
Consent, does everybody agree with this process?
I just have one question. Now, Would there be like if we're gonna do the 3-year, would there be like a restriction where he has to, or that person would have to stay so many years?
Yes, it's good question. So we do that even with our part-timer. So he or her would make us sign a document that, hey, we are hiring you, we're investing in you, we're gonna have a field training officer, we're gonna buy you a vest and a vest carrier. If you leave within 2 years, you have to repay us every dollar. And that would mean the vest, the cost of our field training officer, whatever we pay him above and beyond. They get a stipend when they train. It probably ends up being about $40, $50 a day extra. So we would calculate that and they would pay us back. So we don't want to be used as a stepping stone, which is what we've been getting for part-timers. The part-timers we've been interviewing want to be full-time, and they kind of just want to work with us until they get a full-time, and that's we're not looking for that. So, good question, and yeah,
Yeah.
they're required to stay for 2 years.
Okay, and
If
then,
if they leave, they pay us back.
okay, and then displays, they have this proof of resignation from previous agency. What does that mean? That displays, what is, they have to show proof that they're not with that
Yeah,
department
they
anymore?
they
I
have to
don't know
be,
what that
they have to
means.
be in good standing, and they can't just, Chicago allows you to take a leave of absence. And so what a lot of guys in Chicago were doing, were, you can take a leave of absence for a year and go get another job, and if you like it, you say goodbye to Chicago, or if you don't like it, you know, make some money and then go back. So they want to see that
Okay.
you've resigned,
Okay,
and it's not just vacation, or, I mean, that'll come up in the, I don't know why they use that language, because when you do a background check, you're gonna find out how they left the department, whether it was resignation, termination, and what have you. And you can see a lot of departments are giving bonuses. I think we don't need to do that. I think we just need to compete with salary, because we have such a good reputation as a department and city government that I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay, well, thank you, and
Thank you.
you have your direction.
Thank you.
Okay, we have no appointments, confirmations, or proclamations. Are there anybody registered to speak on agenda matters?
I didn't get a notification there.
No,
Anybody?
no notification.
Hello, Mayor?
Yes.
We missed 3, approval of the minutes.
No, we did. Okay. Item 3, approval of the May 22nd, 2023 City Council regular meeting minutes. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Alderman Anderson,
Yes.
Alderman Cameron,
Abstain.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. We'll go to item 7. We have no consent agenda. Item 8 is a staff memo and ordinance authorizing map amendments, rezoning of certain territory from B3 Commercial, Wholesale and General Services District to B5 Commercial Industrial District. This is the second reading. I would need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item B, we have a staff memo and ordinance amending the city code, Title 5, Chapter 7 of the city code, deleting the O1 Office Research Park District and adding B5 Commercial Industrial District. This is a second reading. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item 9, new business. A, we have staff recommendation of a bid award and resolution authorizing a demolition contract with Arcana Incorporated for the property located at 214 South Wheeling Road for a price of $25,950 and allowance of a 10% contingency for unforeseen conditions that may arise during the project. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B is a request for a first read waiver of ordinance 02315, staff memo and ordinance granting certain variations for the property at 1307 Williams Way, Prospect Heights. This is a request for waiver of the first reading. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C is a staff memo and ordinance granting certain variations for the property at 1307 Williams Way, Prospect Heights. This is the second reading, so this is the approval. We would need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron,
Aye.
Alderman Dash,
Aye.
Alderman Anderson,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D, we have a request and ordinance, a request for an ordinance increasing the number of C3 liquor licenses for Wingstop. This is a first reading and does not require a motion. And if there's any discussion or any questions from anybody? Okay, this will be on the next meeting's agenda for approval. Item E, staff memo and ordinance amending the City Code, Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 7, the hotel operator's occupation tax. This is a first reading. Anybody have any questions or comments? So this is a first reading. It will be on the next meeting for approval. Item 10, staff and elected officials and commission reports. I don't believe we have any reports to be given today, so I will look for if any staff has any reports they'd like to give. If not, we'll move on to elected officials. Anyone to my left have any report they'd like to give, elected official-wise?
The Greater Reeling Chamber has been growing and growing, and the greatest news is all the park districts are now chamber members, Wheeling, Prospect Heights. So we'll be hearing more and more about how we all work as a community regarding them and all their events. I can tell you that the chamber is getting a lot of compliments, a lot of popularity, because they are really bringing the community together. And there are other chambers are asking our chamber, how are we making that happen? So it's really great. It's really exciting right now. So I will be updating you as the weeks roll by. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody on the right side here have any reports? Okay. I have just a couple things. First, we've had 2 grand openings or ribbon cuttings in the past couple of weeks. One was for Wingstop, and one was for, and I always get this backwards, I don't know if it's Pavia Pizza or Pizza Pavia. Both very, very impressive, very good management. They know what they're doing. I was extremely impressed with Pizza Pavia. It to me is the template of a restaurant that wants to come into town and open up. I have to say I'm thoroughly impressed with it. Very good food. The Lions Club has made that their home restaurant for our monthly meetings. But a very good place. Everybody should get out and see it and go there. It's well worth it. The other item is this weekend is the block party this Saturday. I believe it opens 4 or 5 o'clock. And
4 to 11.
4 to 11. So hopefully everybody will show up there. It's always a good time. Always interesting to see your neighbors at the block party. I look forward to it every year. With that, we'll move on to the approval of the warrants. Approval of expenditures.
The total for the expenditures amounted to $318,161.54. We had a wire payment on June 2nd, 2023. It was a payroll, amounted to $181,051.55, bringing the total warrant amount to $499,213.09 for council's approval tonight.
Okay, we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve as presented?
We have a first. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Do we have any public comments on non-agenda matters? Anybody fill out?
No.
Anybody have any comments in the public? Nope. Okay. We do not have an executive session tonight, and there's no action required on that. So I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, we're adjourned.